For 28 years I was the family ghost overshadowed at every gathering, praised no higher than furniture until one reading of my grandmother's will made me the richest person in the room, and suddenly they all came crawling back. I hovered at the edge of every family dinner, a silent observer in the corner. My cousins earned applause for modest promotions: assistant manager at a coffee shop, a medical residency, a junior partnership. Meanwhile, I could cure diseases in my lab coat, yet they asked me when I would get a real job. Aunt Veronica would step around me to embrace the person behind me. Uncle Randall would introduce his children to strangers and forget I existed, even as I stood 3 feet away clutching an expensive bottle of wine, my silent proof that I cared enough to invest. They dismissed me as Quinn's face after I left law school to found CloudSync Solutions. In their eyes, I had traded a suit and tie for playing with computers. They did not see the 7-figure contracts I signed or the 15 people I employed. When I shared a graduation photo announcing my master's degree in computer science and a 4.0 GPA, the family group chat fell silent for 3 days. Yet when Kusinfin landed a 12-hour coffee shop gig, for Tai7 congratulations and a gold watch rushed in. I stopped trying to fit their narrative long before they learned my name. At weddings I was the hired photographer, asked to step aside so they could capture family-only photos. At Christmas I sat at the kids' table beside toddlers and high chairs, despite being 28. Every holiday felt like a reminder that my achievements meant nothing. And still I showed up, hope knotted in my stomach that maybe this time they would notice me. They never did until Grandmother Riris summoned me alone to her care home. Each Tuesday at Sunset Manor I carried her homemade Kokolatekip cookies, a recipe she taught me when I was 12. The nurses greeted me by name. I was Quinn, Mrs. Patterson's grandson. Later, in her private room, we would play chess while she recalled building her construction empire from a single pickup truck. She asked follow-up questions about my business strategies, questions my own parents never bothered to learn. You remind me of myself, she said, capturing my bishop with a knight so precise it felt like a small miracle. When Grandmaris passed, I received a group text. Mom passed this afternoon. Funeral arrangements TBD. No phone call. No warmth, just logistics. At the reading of her $20 million estate, I sat quietly in the back corner as vultures circled the mahogany conference table. They assumed a 12-way split. Then attorney Morrison read her final will. Disappointment for Veronica, sadness for Randall, and for every grandchild the neglect they had shown. To me, the devoted visitor, she left everything. I stepped out of that office with the keys to a mansion, a business, and investment portfolios worth millions, along with letters exposing my family's darkest secrets. Their shocked faces fueled me as they scrambled for a share of my inheritance. But I understood finally. Presence is earned, not demanded. That very afternoon, my phone lit up like Times Square. Group texts, voicemails, lawyer solicitations, everyone jockeying for a piece of what they'd assumed would be theirs. Aunt Veronica begged for reconciliation. Uncle Randall offered brotherly support. Even Cousin Theo, now drifting back home, insisted on celebratory drinks. Each message dripped with the sudden warmth of people who'd spent half their lives treating me like a ghost. When Aunt Veronica invited me to dinner at Randall's house, family must stick together, she wrote, I almost stayed away. But I wanted to see the horror on their faces when they realized their pilgrimage to the head of the table was for nothing more than another performance. I arrived to find every seat filled, each face bright with expectancy. Veronica practically purred when she showed me to the very chair I'd long ago been deemed too old for, the patriarch's seat. They unfurled their family trust plan like a red carpet. Share the business, pool the investments, merge the assets. Their voices were soothing, rehearsed until I stood, cleared my throat, and pulled out my phone. Before we rearranged Grandma's fortune, I said, would you care to hear how you spoke of me when you thought I wasn't listening? I pressed play. The room went icy. Veronica's own words filled the air. He's just so awkward. Playing with computers. Uncle Randall's voice chimed in. Manual labor might teach him some humility, even Ava's confession to her sorority how including me in photos would hurt her image cracked through the speakers. their faces drained of color as each recording stripped away their carefully crafted masks. No one spoke. I dropped the phone into Veronica's trembling hands. "You gave me invisibility for 28 years, I said softly. "I'm returning." "Exactly what you offered." "Nothing." I turned and walked out. The silence that followed louder than any protest. They tried every tactic next: elder abuse claims, undue influence lawsuits, but the 6 years of Sunset Minor videos, nurse testimonies about my Tuesday visits, and Grandmaris's own written explanations left no foothold for their appeals. Within months, the fallout was brutal. Veronica's home went to foreclosure. Randall's restaurant shuttered under a pile of debt. Theo's engagement dissolved. And Ava found herself juggling 3 jobs to pay off credit card bills she'd reckoned on my inheritance to cover. My parents, finally desperate, showed up at my office with tearful speeches about family and forgiveness. I listened politely, then slipped them a check for $500, exactly what my birthday's gifts had totaled over the past decade. "Consider us even," I told them, and watched their confusion ripple into shame. Ava was the only one who reached out again, unguarded. 6 months later, no lawyers, no financial schemes, just an apology that shook me with its honesty. Over coffee, she admitted the jealousy, the regrets, the nights she'd cried thinking of how she'd treated me. I listened, offered what grace I could, and the next year she stood beside me as maidophoner at my wedding. No mention of money, only genuine pride. Today, I'm running CloudSync Solutions and a nonprofit in Grandma Iris's name that brings tech education to underserved kids. The old mansion is now the Iris Patterson Community Center, where every voice matters. The construction business she built continues under professional management. I sometimes wonder if I should have shared more, forgiven sooner. Then I remember those Tuesday evenings with Iris, when her greatest wish was simply that her family would remember she existed. Some things can't be bought, and some presences have to be earned. After 28 years of invisibility, I learned that my worth wasn't defined by blood or tradition, but by the courage to claim it. The black sheep doesn't always stay in the herd. Sometimes it finds a better flock. Sometimes it starts its own.